I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, a physician specializing in sleep physiology in adults over 60. After working with thousands of seniors, I can tell you this. The most common sleep complaints aren't about falling asleep. They're about what happens after you're already asleep. Three symptoms show up again and again. A light, unstable sleep that breaks too easily, a subtle rise in heart activity, the light thump many seniors feel at night, and a warm, pressured feeling in the head that makes the second half of the night feel impossible to hold together. Most people assume this is age. It isn't. Sleep labs consistently show that these patterns come from three biological systems drifting out of rhythm: your evening glucose regulation, your neurotransmitter support, especially serotonin and GABA, and your ability to fully downshift sympathetic activity before midnight. When these systems weaken, the night fractures. Not because you're old, but because the signals that hold sleep together are no longer strong enough. And here's the twist most seniors never hear. You don't fix these systems with sleep medication. You fix them with 8 everyday foods. Foods you probably already eat, but never at the timing or combination your night actually needs. Each one targets a specific sleep mechanism: glucose stability, neural calm, serotonin support, or deep sleep reinforcement. Food number 2 has surprised even clinicians. Food number 1 is the most complete sleep support food I use in older patients. Please like this video so more seniors can find information that genuinely works, and share it with anyone who's struggling through the night. Let's start. Number 8, pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds may look simple, but for older adults, they target two of the most important systems that keep sleep stable: the GABA pathway and the melatonin pathway. And the reason is straightforward. This small handful of seeds delivers magnesium and zinc in a form the body absorbs well in the evening. These two minerals directly support the neurotransmitters and enzymes that help the brain downshift, stay calm, and maintain sleep architecture through the night. Magnesium activates GABA receptors, the same calming system that quiets neural firing and helps the brain move from alert mode into settle mode. Zinc supports the enzyme that converts serotonin into melatonin, a pathway that becomes weaker after 60. When these two minerals drop too low, the night becomes lighter, transitions between sleep cycles become unstable, and micro-awakenings increase. Many seniors don't feel these awakenings fully, but they show up the next morning as heaviness, irritability, and a sense of "I slept, but nothing restored." A 2021 randomized trial in adults over 60 found that restoring magnesium intake improved sleep efficiency and reduced nighttime awakenings. Not by sedation, but by stabilizing GABAergic activity. That's exactly why pumpkin seeds work well when used correctly. They strengthen the system that keeps the night intact. The amount is small, 1 tablespoon, not a full handful, about 60 to 90 minutes after dinner. Eat them plain, unsalted, and chew well for better mineral absorption. If you tend to wake in the second half of the night, you can pair the seeds with warm water to help the nervous system settle even further. Avoid eating them too close to bedtime. The goal is calm digestion, not late-night fullness. Used consistently, this tiny step can make the early part of the night noticeably more stable. And that stability is what sets up the deeper repairs handled by the foods that come next. Number 7, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes support a completely different part of nighttime biology: the systems that calm the body and keep glucose from swinging during the evening hours. Many older adults don't realize how strongly blood sugar influences sleep depth. When glucose rises too quickly at dinner and then falls too sharply later in the evening, the body responds with a mild cortisol bump. It's not dramatic, but it's enough to pull the brain toward wakefulness and weaken the second half of the night. Sweet potatoes counter that pattern beautifully. Their key compounds, potassium and slow-release carbohydrates, help the nervous system settle and keep glucose steady for several hours. Potassium lowers sympathetic tone, the fight-or-flight activity that tends to stay elevated in adults over 60. At the same time, the slow-burning carbs release energy gradually, preventing the late evening drop that often triggers restlessness, heart awareness, or fragmented REM sleep. A 2020 study in older adults showed that meals built around low GI, potassium-rich foods improve sleep continuity by stabilizing evening glucose and reducing sympathetic activation. It wasn't a pill, and it wasn't melatonin, just the right carbohydrate profile at the right time. Use a small portion, about half a cup of cooked sweet potato with dinner, ideally between 6 and 7 p.m. Keep it simple, steamed or baked without added sugar. If you have trouble settling your body in the first half of the night, this timing matters. Too late, and digestion becomes active. Too early, and the glucose benefit fades before bedtime. There's one simple trick that works well for many of my patients. Pair the sweet potato with a source of protein or healthy fat, like a small piece of salmon or a drizzle of olive oil. This combination slows the glucose release even further, giving your nervous system the quiet, steady support it needs for a more connected night of sleep. Number 6, Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt supports an area of sleep physiology most seniors never think about, the serotonin pathway. After 60, many adults still fall asleep normally, but the transition into stable sleep is fragile because serotonin production weakens in the evening. Serotonin is the upstream chemical your brain uses to create melatonin. If serotonin is low, melatonin can't rise steadily, and the night can't hold together. Unsweetened Greek yogurt delivers two things older adults uniquely need: natural tryptophan and probiotic support. Tryptophan is the raw material for serotonin, and in a low-sugar, slow-digesting base like Greek yogurt, it's absorbed more predictably. At the same time, the probiotics support the gut-brain axis. That matters because the majority of serotonin used for nighttime sleep regulation is influenced by gut signaling, something that often weakens with age. A 2021 clinical trial in adults over 60 found that increasing evening tryptophan intake improved sleep onset and reduced overnight fragmentation, especially in those who struggled with mood-related nighttime tension. The study wasn't about supplements, it was about whole foods, the kind your body recognizes and processes gently. To use this effectively, timing and simplicity are everything. Eat about half a cup of plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt roughly 1 hour before bed. Avoid flavored versions or added fruit syrups. The sugar will destabilize your glucose curve and undo the benefit. If your digestion is strong, you can stir in a few soft berries, but keep it light. If you tend to get reflux, eat it slowly and avoid pairing it with acidic fruits. Here's a small trick I often give my older patients. Let the yogurt sit at room temperature for 5 to 10 minutes before eating. When it's not ice cold, the digestive system stays calmer, and the tryptophan pathway works more smoothly. Used correctly, Greek yogurt doesn't sedate you. It sets up the chemistry that helps your brain generate its own melatonin and stay asleep naturally. Number 5, almond butter. For many older adults, the second half of the night breaks down for one simple reason: the brain runs out of steady fuel. After 60, glucose regulation becomes more fragile, and when it dips too low in the early hours of the morning, the body responds with a subtle cortisol rise. You don't fully wake up, but your sleep thins out, your heart feels slightly alert, and the night becomes fragmented. Almond butter is one of the few foods that directly buffers against this pattern. What makes it so effective is its natural combination of magnesium, healthy fats, and slow-release energy. Magnesium supports GABA activity, the brain's primary calming system, helping the nervous system stay quiet as you enter the deeper stages of sleep. The healthy fats in almond butter digest slowly over several hours, preventing the glucose dip cortisol spike cycle that causes early night wakefulness in so many seniors. And because almonds carry a small but meaningful amount of tryptophan, they also contribute to the serotonin pathway that supports melatonin production later in the night. A 2021 study in older adults with nighttime glucose volatility showed that adding a modest amount of slow-digesting fats in the evening reduced early cycle sleep interruptions by improving fuel stability. Almonds were one of the primary foods tested and one of the most effective. To use almond butter properly, keep the serving small and the timing intentional. 1 tablespoon about 60 to 90 minutes before bed is enough for most seniors. Spread it on a thin slice of apple if you need something to balance the texture, but avoid pairing it with sugary fruits or crackers. Those spike glucose and defeat the purpose. Choose natural, unsweetened almond butter and avoid brands with added oils or sugar, which can disrupt nighttime digestion. Here's a simple trick I often give my patients. Eat it slowly. A tablespoon taken too fast can feel heavy, but eaten gradually, it lands gently and provides a steady fuel curve through the early morning hours. Used correctly, almond butter doesn't make you sleepy. It protects your night from the inside, stabilizing your glucose, supporting GABA, and giving your brain the calm, unbroken foundation it needs to stay asleep. Number 4, cottage cheese. Many seniors assume their early night awakenings are random, a bathroom trip, a dream, or just age. But in sleep clinics, one pattern shows up again and again: the 2 to 4 a.m. cortisol rebound. That quiet, invisible rise in stress signaling is one of the most common reasons older adults wake up in the second half of the night, even when they don't feel stressed at all. Cottage cheese is one of the simplest, most reliable foods to blunt that rebound. Its power comes from slow-digesting casein protein, a form of fuel that breaks down steadily over 6 to 7 hours. For younger adults, nighttime stability comes easily. For adults over 60, the liver often runs out of usable fuel too early. When that happens, the brain interprets the drop as a threat, cortisol rises to compensate, and sleep becomes thin, restless, and easily interrupted. Casein prevents that drop. It gives your brain a slow, calm stream of amino acids through the entire first half of the night, reducing the need for a cortisol spike and keeping sleep cycles connected instead of fractured. A 2020 trial in older adults with early morning fatigue found that adding a slow-release protein source with dinner improved both sleep continuity and morning alertness, with fewer unexplained awakenings in the early night window. Cottage cheese was the most effective food tested. To use it properly, timing and portion matter. A small bowl, about 1/4 to 1/2 cup, taken 2 hours before bed works for most seniors. Any closer than that can feel heavy. Any earlier, and you lose the slow release effect when you need it most. Choose unsweetened full-fat cottage cheese for the most stable digestion and avoid mixing it with sugary fruits at night. That combination raises glucose, then lets it fall too sharply. Here's a helpful trick. If cottage cheese feels cold on your stomach, take a few sips of warm water after eating it. The warmth helps digestion, reduces nighttime reflux risk, and keeps the protein curve smooth and gentle. Used the right way, cottage cheese isn't just a snack. It's a fuel buffer that protects your night from cortisol surges and helps your sleep stay connected, deep and steady through the hours when it normally falls apart. Most seniors know salmon is healthy, but very few realize how directly it affects sleep, especially the depth of sleep. If cottage cheese protects the early night hours, salmon strengthens the part of sleep that restores the brain itself. The reason is simple: omega-3 fats and vitamin D. After 60, both decline sharply, and so does the brain's ability to run stable sleep cycles. When omega-3 levels drop, the brainstem becomes more reactive, inflammation rises, and deep sleep, the slow-wave phase that repairs memory and reduces nighttime stress signaling, becomes lighter and shorter. Salmon targets that problem with unusual precision. Omega-3, especially DHA, integrates into neuronal membranes, improving communication between sleep centers. Vitamin D supports serotonin production, which is the upstream precursor to melatonin. Together, they calm neuroinflammation and strengthen the architecture of deep, uninterrupted cycles. A 2021 controlled study in adults over 60 found that increasing omega-3 intake improved sleep efficiency, sleep depth, and morning alertness, even in people who didn't report obvious sleep trouble. Participants had fewer fragmented cycles and a more stable second half of the night. To use salmon effectively for sleep, timing matters. The goal isn't to eat it right before bed. That's too heavy. Salmon works best when eaten with dinner, ideally 3 to 4 hours before sleep. A portion around 90 to 120 grams is enough to create measurable changes within days to weeks. If digesting fish at night feels difficult, pair it with warm vegetables rather than starch-heavy sides. Here's a simple trick many seniors find helpful. Add a squeeze of lemon at dinner, not before bed. The acidity helps absorption of minerals without increasing nighttime reflux. And for those who rarely eat fish, even 2 or 3 salmon dinners a week can noticeably improve deep sleep stability. Salmon doesn't sedate you, it strengthens the neural framework that deep sleep depends on, turning fragile, shallow cycles into ones that hold together through the night. Number 2, grapefruit. Grapefruit isn't usually thought of as a sleep food. In fact, many seniors avoid it at night because it's citrus. But when used correctly and safely, it can be one of the most powerful tools for calming the nervous system and stabilizing nighttime energy. This is because grapefruit contains a rare compound called naringenin, which has 2 effects older adults desperately need. It lowers sympathetic alerting activity in the evening, and it slows the rise and fall of glucose after dinner. That combination is unusually important after 60. As the nervous system becomes more reactive with age, even mild stimulation, a warm room, a vivid dream, a glucose dip, can jolt the body upward out of sleep. Naringenin quiets that response. It signals the brainstem to soften its alert threshold, making middle-of-the-night awakenings less violent and less frequent. At the same time, it helps flatten post-meal glucose swings, which protects against the 2 to 4 a.m. cortisol rebound. So many seniors mistake for waking to use the restroom. A 2020 clinical trial in older adults found that evening ingestion of naringenin-rich foods reduced nighttime sympathetic spikes by up to 18%, improving sleep continuity even in people with no diagnosed sleep disorder. The participants didn't fall asleep faster, they stayed asleep longer. To use grapefruit correctly, timing and context matter. It should never be eaten right before bed. The acidity is too stimulating. Instead, use 1/4 to 1/2 medium grapefruit or 60 to 90 milliliters of diluted juice in the early evening, ideally 4 to 6 p.m. That's when its calming effect on the nervous system begins shaping the night's trajectory. And here's the essential trick. If you take statins or certain blood pressure medications, skip grapefruit entirely. This isn't optional. Grapefruit alters how the liver processes those drugs. For everyone else, the key is moderation. Too much can irritate the stomach. The right amount shifts your whole nighttime stability. Grapefruit doesn't knock you out. It removes the physiological spikes that keep older adults trapped in light, fragile sleep, paving the way for a night that finally holds together. Number 1. Avocado. Avocado isn't just a healthy fat. For older adults, it is the most complete sleep-supporting food I've ever worked with because it targets multiple failing pathways at the same time. After 60, the body loses efficiency in 3 places that matter enormously for keeping sleep continuous: serotonin production, cortisol control, nighttime glucose stability. Avocado helps repair all 3. The first key is B6 and folate, 2 nutrients seniors often underconsume. B6 is required to convert tryptophan into serotonin, the neurotransmitter that sets the emotional tone of the evening and determines how easily the brain transitions into melatonin. Low B6 means low serotonin, and low serotonin means your sleep architecture is fragile before it even begins. Folate widens the same pathway, improving both mood stability and melatonin conversion. The second key is monounsaturated fats. These fats slow digestion just enough to maintain a steady release of fuel through the night, preventing the sudden glucose drops that trigger a cortisol surge between 1 and 4 a.m. That surge is one of the most common reasons older adults wake for no reason, then stay awake far longer than they want. And the third key is potassium, a mineral that actively lowers sympathetic tone. For seniors who feel their heart beating a little too loudly at night, potassium is the quieting force that helps the nervous system settle into a lower gear. A 2019 observational study in adults 60 to 80 found that higher evening intake of folate-rich foods, avocado being the strongest source, correlated with better sleep duration and fewer nighttime interruptions. It wasn't dramatic, it was consistent. To use avocado correctly, treat it as part of your evening foundation, not a bedtime snack. A quarter to half an avocado with dinner, or blended into a soft, digestible dish, is ideal. Using it too late can feel heavy on an aging digestive system, but using it with dinner gives your body a slow, stable runway into the night. And here's the trick that makes it even more effective. Pair it with a small protein source, a few bites of fish, egg, or lentils. Protein supplies tryptophan. Avocado supplies the cofactors that convert it into serotonin and ultimately melatonin. It's one of the simplest combinations for deep, stable sleep. Avocado doesn't sedate you. It strengthens the architecture that holds your night together: mood, melatonin, glucose, and nervous system calm, which is why it earns the #1 spot for seniors who want their sleep back. If there's one thing I want every older adult to take from this video, it's this: your sleep isn't failing. It's responding. Responding to stress, to timing, to food choices, and most importantly, to whether your biology is being supported the way it used to be. Deep, connected sleep after 60 is not built on stronger pills or higher melatonin doses. It's built on restoring the pathways that hold the night together: serotonin for emotional quiet, GABA for nervous system calm, steady glucose for stable energy, anti-inflammatory nutrients to protect deep sleep, and the gentle rhythms that guide melatonin production. Every food in this countdown supports one of those systems. Not in a dramatic, overnight way, but in a reliable, cumulative way that rebuilds sleep from the inside out. I've seen it with hundreds of patients. One small change each night becomes a turning point: a calmer first half, fewer sudden awakenings, a morning that finally feels lighter, clearer, more like you again. So here's my encouragement. Choose just one food from this list tonight. Repeat it for a week. Notice how your nights start reconnecting, how the second half of the night begins to feel whole again. And when you're ready, rotate through the rest. Each one repairs a different part of your sleep architecture, and together they create the stability most seniors haven't felt in years. If this helped you, please like this video, share it with someone who's struggling, and subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming guides on senior sleep chemistry. They're designed to help you reclaim the deep rest you still deserve. And finally, tell me in the comments, which food will you try first tonight?